But pretty much very safe, boring builds. I mean, I could do unsafe, unboring builds, but the idea is safe, boring builds against you beautiful viewers to demonstrate how simple it truly is. I'm not gonna do the very painful lower your APM to under 100 at all times kind of restriction, but it's more like, oh, maybe I won't micro 2 Zerglings in his base when I have 1,000 minerals. Maybe I won't do that. All right. I'm setting up cam locations to start. And then first Overlord and ZVZ. Now we're on Turbo Cruise, and I chose Turbo Cruise because it has the inhibitor zones, aka slow zones, that slow movement speed of all units, including air units, by 35%. You can see them on the mini-map, the fancy green slow zones. It's a new feature. This is the first season with a map. It's in addition, in some cases, to destructible rocks, but units will still move through them, just slower. Simple enough, right? Hatch, gas pool. I usually do 17, 17, 17. Though sometimes I fuck it up. Usually try to stay on top of that, though. Now, there are a couple options. There's always the wall off with Evo chambers and a roach warren and get a bunch of +1 speed roaches and try to kill them. And even at the highest level, that is still potentially an effective strat. I don't think on this map because of the slow zones, but if you nail the timing and they don't really realize what's happening for a while, then they die because you have a big brick and you smash. Brick smash. It's actually pretty hard in ZVZ for a player who opens up speed to have the economy and the defenses against that. With that said, I'm not doing that strat. That usually starts gasless, but not always. I'll poke in here. Okay. Usually you can see the first thing they build. Sometimes it's Zergling, sometimes it's a drone. Sometimes they transfer drones. So you can poke in until the queen comes out. Now, I know when his queen's going to come out, or at least when it could potentially come out, through map hacks of also having essentially the same build. This Overlord should have been further out. Bring that out further. I'm going to get a Baneling Nest. That's the beauty of mirror matchups, is they do the same thing sometimes, and their units take just as long. I'm going for a third. I got the Baneling Nest pretty early because I didn't pull out a gas. But this is just the super safe, I don't want to die to a bunch of Zerglings, and I don't know what the timer means situation. He hasn't used his larva. That's a Baneling Nest. I'm taking a third. The fact he made another round of Lings means I need to make another round of Lings and an Overlord. The idea here... Where's that OB I built? Alright, I like to rally him out. It's just very simple thing that anyone can do. It doesn't take too much time, especially before there's a bunch of Zerglings coming across the map, is the ideal time to do that. Not after. And then be like, I don't know, I didn't see his Zerglings coming. There was no way. Like, they're just so fast. How does he rush the Zerglings so fast? So that's obviously not ideal for him there, because he wasn't paying attention. I built a bunch of Zerglings and Banelings. Wait, does he have Banelings? The slow zones are... Oh, he's running back. We've got this base finishing, build a couple Overlords and rally them in. A few more Banes. Control-click off the Select All Army hotkey is what I like to use. So, those Banes... I made a gamble that they weren't going to finish in that second, but I wasn't sure if they were going to finish before I killed them, so I just went past. Alright, these Banelings. We're going to split some up here, and then we're going to take 3 and go down here. Oh, I killed the queen at least. That went pretty well. And I banked up a lot of money. That's one of the few times I think it's pretty worth it to micro. the potential damage is ridiculous. If I had been continually building Zerglings, he'd probably be dead right now, but the transition when, especially if you have a third and you do any damage to a 2-base player, Roach Warren and maybe Evo Chamber, or he fails to do damage, because that's how you, like, trying to win the game on Ling Bane is sometimes, like pushing against a brick wall. You're only gonna hurt yourself. Here, I mean, I killed queens, I killed drones, so he's pretty much down for the count. But the transition would be into roaches and potentially +1. The lair is a little harder to get to because the lair itself doesn't actually do anything. We'll see. Who's up next? Thank you, Thunder Dan, by the way. 34 months. I just don't enjoy it. Is he actually playing random? What a crazy guy. We've got the Vorazun Twitch Prime console, which I probably would have switched off by now if it weren't for the super gimmicky. Is he not going to tell his race? What a cheesy random player. Because this joystick, which moves with the mini map. And it has an APM counter in a nice spot. I don't trust him. I'm gonna send this Overlord out looking for proxies and then send it towards the base. Usually against Terran and Protoss if he happens to be that. And I'm hedging my bets that he's Terran or Protoss. Because 2 and 3. The second Overlord, or just an Overlord scouting in between 3 and 4 minutes if they've expanded, is the timing. Usually closer to 4, because that's when they're going to commit to their tech. Using a lot of camera locations. At this point, I technically only have like 4 or 5 actions to do in the next minute. Just general actions. But it's not to inflate APM. If I wanted to inflate APM, I would just do this. It's not about that big EP dick swinging of inflating your dumb APM. Alright, it's just a warm-up when you see players doing stuff like this. It's not nearly that. And subscribe on Twitch, and I will give you all my secret beginner guides to impressing your friends who don't play Starcraft or barely play Starcraft and pretending like you're good. I'm pretty sure I've already uploaded that to YouTube, but I'm gonna keep that a secret for now. Oh yeah, he's Terran. That was an SEV.
Oh, you are now in my service.
Yeah, make sure to do that. The best plan, of course, we've already established, is to do that for like 2 minutes. Your endgame APM is like 593. His APM is like 72. You lose anyways. And then be like, well, you'll never be really good because you don't have enough APM to be a skilled pro gamer. Alright, my friend. Another thing is the Overlords 3 and 4. Like, I try to copy off, say, Cyril or Raynor or someone. But Overlords 3 and 4 and 5 are usually pretty mapped out. But usually kept pretty close to the chest, because you don't want to be losing too many OVs early, and really, against a competent player, they will pick them off one way or another. Okay, so that's late. The factory's late. There's another barrack somewhere. Or a command center. Or he's bad, but never assume he's bad. Also, this Overlord shouldn't have been here. I've already confused myself. Goddamn random players, right? There's a command center somewhere, an extra one, and by extra I mean third. I'm getting more Overlords, third base. I don't know where. I'm just gonna scout for it. It might just be at the front, but from here, I'm building many, many queens. Queens, very good units. Doesn't matter what he's doing. I'm sending this OV in again. You see, I threw myself off. The reason you scout with an OV usually at around 4 minutes is because that's when they commit to tech. I scouted in with my first Overlord, whereas I usually almost always scout with my second OV. So I'm like, oh, he has nothing. He's being sneaky. Because I don't usually look at the timer. I'm not like, what time? I just have these... I just remember, okay, I OV scout. If he has nothing in his base, that's weird. Nope, it was my first OV. I played myself, essentially, is what that means. How did this Reaper get here? Go away. Stop it. Go. Be gone, vile Reaper. What, he built like one Hellion, and now he's got a tech lab and another factory. I'm still gonna stick with the Bane Nest. I'm getting a Roach one now. Usually the time, if I pull off of gas, which I recommend if you're diamond or above, doing the pull off of gas when you have enough to research speed. I put it back on, and I notice players better than me usually put it back on right around when speed is finishing, so that's kind of a timing you can figure out. We'll get the lair. I rebound lair to the F key to pay respects to my hatchery, as well as being a lot easier to hit than the L key, especially if you got those Dorito dust hands from supporting Juanito. So very important. Not that important, but I've been working through all the hotkeys that even though you only hit them like once per game, if you miss it, like I've got Overlord speed, I have it on C as well. Alternative hotkey, but it works, right? So he's rushing Cyclone. He didn't build enough Hellions to really pressure, and he probably is going to have a Raven. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get like 60, we'll say 62 drones, which is about 3 base saturation. And then I'm going to build a bunch of roaches. I'm going to beat his face in. And the Cyclones with their annoyingly infinite range. Aha! You know what? I should have trusted my instincts. I outplayed myself. I don't know when he built it, honestly. I don't think it was when I was like, he's doing something weird. I don't think it was then. I think it was after that point. We're getting enough lings to make sure this will never sit here again. And now, like, he got the SCVs home, but 56 drones. I'll just make another round. Couple gases. So this means... yeah, even though he was adding on production, he couldn't really afford it, and now he has to spend time. That's essentially a flight of shame there. So, I mean, he's used to it, but what the hell is this? Get out of here. Desperation plays. Plenty of roaches now. So, if you use the rapid fire hotkey, I got a guide on that. I'm not going into detail, but you can do things like this. And wave your fancy creep wand. I noticed that first from Cyril doing it. So pretty much just try to copy everything Cyril's doing. And do it at like 5% of the speed. And you'll probably still be better off. What do we have for upgrades? +2 attack coming up. And here, I'm just making sure I don't get supply block, as well as building reg. I got 70 drones. Usually, if you're well over 60, like 60 is your goal. If you get to 60 drones, in any league, you're pretty much good to go. Especially the lower you go into the meta leagues. If you get 60 drones, you probably have double their workers. I don't know if I've ever seen anyone build 60 drones in the Silver League. And then proceed to stay in the Silver League for more than a few days. Like, I'm just building roaches now. Adding on expansions and all that, and upgrades, but injects via camera location. If he gets air units, well, I'm gonna get a Spire isn't a bad choice here because Hydras are a half measure. Like, Hydras don't counter battle cruisers. They can not counter battle cruisers, but they don't counter battle cruisers. Corruptors counter battle cruisers. And also, Corruptors can make Broodlords. So, that's very important. If you feel like not running all of your roaches into siege tanks over and over and then complaining about Terran, I recommend Broodlords. Try it out. We're gonna get enough, like, 4 Ravagers. 3 Ravagers, 1-shot tanks, and Liberators. So that's the important number. Just in case I need to pick off an extra tank or 2. But, there we go. Pretty much maxed out. We got good upgrades. Gonna add this base into my hotkeys. There we go. Actually transfer some drones. Get a spine crawler here. And can we get these out of the way? You can't kill the inhibitor zones. The slow zones are gonna be there the whole game. That's just how it is. I've got my +2 a little bit from finishing, so I'll be attacking. I probably should have brought some overseers. Now, the only cloaked units are probably gonna be banshees, but at least seeing them would help me get a gauge. I'm gonna attack directly in the front and see if I will regret it. Okay. I'm pretty sure I could deal with it, but for matters of educational purposes, I will go around. Alright, advanced strategies. Let's get brutal. You see, I know the map only seems like there's the mid lane and that's it, but you can actually just go around. Almost every single map, just go around. Okay. I know it sounds crazy, but... Oh yeah, I brought these random lings in. We're gonna get the planetary. If he doesn't have tanks, then... How many tanks? 3 tanks. Ooh, anti-armor missile. And now we're working to brute. You might be like, wasn't that a little cost effective? But he used the select all army hotkey and my lings killed all the FCVs. Was that my secret plan the whole time? No, that's actually kind of an accident. But as long as you're not spamming F2, then maybe things like that will happen. Whereas for him, obviously it didn't help. 6 kills on this ling. Both lings have 6 kills. Yeah, doing pretty well. Getting more gas. Greater Spire's done. 4 or 5. But you don't want like 2 Broodlords. Even though some Terrans will just freak out and have no idea what to do. You want like 5 or 6 Broodlords is the number. And put them on a different hotkey so they're not doing the same thing as the roaches. I do use the Select All Army hotkey. I have it rebound to tilde. But for things like this, Select All Army hotkey, Control click, I selected all the roaches. And then Shift 1. And now all my roaches are on my control group from the entire map. Yeah, if you're doing little roach counterattacks or something like that, it has a tendency to maybe screw it up, but it's still easier than trying to figure out where did I put my rally point.
Your creep tumor is under attack.
We'll get the 3/3 upgrades here. We'll go. We got the Broodlords. We're maxed out. Make sure everybody injects. Shift Q it up. Get an attack upgrade. Get all of the base. Actually, make sure I'm mining gas from here. I've only got 72 drones, so it's not... Well, my army's pretty large is what that means. But also, I don't have kind of fuck you money. I have fuck you, but maybe consensually money. Because I can't lose my whole army, but I can lose parts of it, is the key point. I should have my Queen's hotkeyed as well. He's got some Vikings. The anti-air isn't that incredible here. Oh, where are my transfuse? But the Queens are here for a reason. Okay, his whole army is here, so I'm gonna lose it on this side. But then we just hit this side with the roaches. Losing the Broodlords is not the ideal choice. I'm gonna remake some Corruptors. But down goes this. He can't defend both sides at once. It is a little annoying to attack in, I will say that. And Vikings on the ground. Not the greatest ground units when fighting anything. They're pretty good at killing probes. But that's about it. So he's not dying. The actual counter here, since he's actually figured out a way to counter Broodlords, who knew it could be done, right? Is Vipers. Vipers are the answer. Blinding Cloud, Parasitic Bomb. But rebuilding your ground army is still fine. He's probably going to try to siege up the tanks. We'll just get up close and personal. It's a lot of splash damage. The Vipers are out, though. And if we just keep him off a comfortable 4 bases, eventually he dies. Gotta be careful not to just make it complete. You said, literally as you said there's a CC somewhere, he dropped one, said AVEX. Oh, so I'm a genius, is what AVEX is saying. I should have trusted myself. Please go gentle, it's been 5 months.
My service.
Alright, AVEX. I won't be done. Thank you, Oigawan, for tier 2 for 26 months. Skelly 250, Dante Decrypt, Benji's house. Thank you guys. I just don't enjoy. AVEX, for those who don't know, the maker of many maps in StarCraft 2, Year Zero. There's other ones too. Odyssey, Invader, Blood Boil. Also a Salty Devil. Fun fact. I think he'll readily admit to that. Also, Micro God, if you remember back to the Angry Coach from a while back, where his Marine Micro is like pretty close to Maru level. It's just his Marine Macro is not there. If only he built more of them. I played SC2 once, but it's too much complex. I don't know what's going on. I recommend you try a second game, or maybe even a third game, to figure it out. By the 4th game, you probably got it down. All right. Or do the usual strat of people who are too scared to ladder. Just play the Wings of Liberty campaign, which is amazing, and then play against the AI 500 times until you beat very hard AI, and then have to completely relearn everything that you learned because the AI is not a great way to train long-term for the ladder, and then play ladder and get cannon rush 2 times and then complain on the forums that everyone is super cheesy. Why is there so much cheese? Why doesn't anybody want to use skill to play? Is usually the go-to. That Overlord is a little bit too close. So we're gonna get behind it, because Overlords despite their tentacles, do not have an attack. And units that do not have an attack will automatically move the opposite direction of wherever they get attacked from. Now, he microed it away in time, but... Come back. With a little bit of fancy Brenda. Get him. Get one more. Yeah. Alright. Oh, you cheesy devil. So he made a bunch of Zerglings. Let's see how that goes for him. We're gonna have to cancel this, I think. And even if I lose this base, the thing is, his drone count is very low right now. If he did that. Avex, you cheesy devil. But block the ramp. And I'm gonna counterattack, because he's probably gonna try. Well, I probably could have kept the third, to be honest. And that's unfortunate that I didn't, but he's sending the links through the slow zones. And Overlord does not move very quick in the slow zone. We'll see. Oh, he has walled it off. Until he didn't. And he let the queen go by. Which is a lot. That's a lot of damage. I was looking for that opportunity. We kill the queen. Maybe we can kill this queen. I don't even think that's a wall there, is the thing. I don't have sound. This is really hard. I guess there's one way that he could have solved that problem. But unfortunately, the sound card exploded in. Yeah, that was actually a pretty tough spot for me. It depends on his drone count, which I didn't really get a gauge of. That's the downside of playing peep mode on the arcade. 1v1 obs, where you can have 10 people playing instead of just 2. I can't see how many workers and stuff after the game. I had like 20 drones. Then I was fine. Usually in that scenario, it's important not to freak out. If you're going to lose the hatch, understand how many Zerglings he made and how committed that is. It's very committed. Making 40 Zerglings is 20 potential drones. So he probably had even less drones before that point. The key, especially in ZVZ, is just... It feels like if you lose your hatchery, it's like it's all over. A lot of players will die on that hill. Essentially. Like, well, if I lose my hatch, I lose the game. Sometimes that's true, but in that kind of scenario, if I think I have enough workers, and I think I have enough tech, just gotta give up the hatch. Now, in ZVP, my second Overlord is gonna chill over the second base, because I'm looking for cannon rushes. No cannon rush, please. I mean, he can still cannon rush. I'll just see it. Some players will try to fake you out and put down a pylon and cancel it. And, of course, some players will send their probe out to block, in which case, usually the best option is just go take your third. I don't usually do a quick hatch by not constantly building drones. Usually, a quick hatch would be like 16 supply, aka you don't really build drones after your Overlord, or even you extractor trick, but I just usually go for the 17 hatch and then get annoyed if they try to block. That's my strat. It's a good build. So my second Overlord, I'm gonna move towards this location now. This is going to be the spot. Pushes and adepts early on. The first Overlord is usually... Oh, alright. So. Oh, he built a Zealot. He's got 2 gates, which means he can easily go double adept. But if he got a Nexus, then he can't really afford it. A lot of players will get 2 gates and then get a Nexus, and then they can't afford anything, and then I yell at them when they spend their money to send it in the Angry Coach. We'll see which one he does, because notice he's not building out of the gates. Now he got a Nexus, which means he can't afford to build out of the gates. He has a wall, but his wall was literally done before I have any Zerglings out, which seems a little inefficient, right? So, and by that I mean it's very inefficient. Don't do that. That's a waste of money.
A new queen awaits your command.
Because everything he's doing is late, and it gives him no benefit besides a fake feeling of safety. So, I'm gonna go up, see if he gets any other tech. I'll be looking for where the pylons are. I don't see any reason I can't get the third, because by the time any units come across the map... Oh, and he built a stalker as well. Building... Oh, that's 4 gate. What year is it? I am gonna lose the OV. I'm already replacing it. And the Zerglings are gonna go look for any pylons around the map. I'm just shift-clicking around the mini-map as someone's mom decides they want to pick up their phone and destroy the internet. I think +1 Zerglings... Roaches are usually a better counter, but +1 Zerglings give you more options later on. So I like the +1 Zerglings. Also, later on, if the game continues, you can go for +2, which means Banelings one-shot probes and just generally counterattacks have a lot of potential.
We require more minerals.
So, he had 2 gas. I mean, it's not particularly surprising. He's got Warp Gate done. There are no pylons, like, right next to my base. He's built several Stalkers, which is a significant amount of gas. I've got to be careful that he doesn't sneak DTs. I'm going to send the OBs out. Shift-click, right-click on the mini-map. Yeah, I think it's very unlikely. If he had, like, a Stargate, I wouldn't be doing that, because he would just kill my Overlords, right? But, I don't think he has a Stargate. I'm going to get a Spore Crawler in each of these mineral lines right now. Not for the Stargate, but for detection. And then I can move them later if I need it. Let's go get some more gas. Should already had that. This drone was blocked by the other drones. Really? Guys, oh my god. Gotta be careful. They get their shit together.
You are now in my service.
A new queen awaits your command.
Time for a lair. And I'm making more... I feel like I have enough lings now that I can make another round of drones. I don't know exactly what tech he'll end up having. I'm going to get a roach one now, though. I want a name.
Yes, yes,
The
yes.
worst is when there's a lag screen.
Dunking on Vanu while I chill to your stream. Thanks for the content.
Thank you,
Keep
Ben
me
Carriers
close
from ZVP, as he plays Protoss in PlanetSide. Okay. 50 drones is the edge here. You gotta be careful, because a lot of players will just build up units and move out at weird times. That's the biggest danger against Protoss right now. I mean in general, but at the higher level, there are a lot of odd timings that Protosses are doing, so you kind of... It's hard to know exactly which, what they're gonna be doing. It's hard to know exactly. You can go for Overlord speed, but that also costs money. And even if you get Overlord speed, you don't know exactly when they're gonna move out. He's got a lot of Zealots here. Oh my god. Literally just enough time that we can't see their name. I'm gonna start pulling out Ethernet cords. I'm pretty sure charge is done. Oh my god.
We require more Vespian gas.
Jesus. Give me a name. Ah!
We require unacceptable command.
That's the worst. They're just too busy torrenting my guides so they can re-upload them. Wait, what? Why would they... I don't know. Something dark web. Alright. So still just a bunch of roaches. We'll see if he commits to this base. Can I kill the Nexus? I have a Zergling on the other Nexus. He's got speed, but no Nexus for you. So, you gotta decide whether Hydras are the transition or Mutas. Usually Hydras are kind of a half measure. They're good, and I could definitely go Hydras, but I see a wide opening for Mutas. Because he's really focused on charge lots. He doesn't have enough gas. We've all been there. Oh my god! I need a name! So this is, I'm just simulating the experience of Australians in every other game on the ladder, I assume, is what we're doing. Just wanted to get shout out to all y'all. Because that's the downside of the way StarCraft is set up. If you're in a lobby with 10 people and one of them lags, even if it's a spectator, well, guess what? Congratulations, you're all lagging. Alright, so he has Archons, which doesn't necessarily negate mutas. It means I just have to not use the select all army hotkey. I know it sounds crazy, but But at this point, roaches are still my go-to. If I can just shave off zealots over and over, just might kill the Archon, which is obviously the most valuable unit here. I'm constantly building more and more roaches. He's just going for it. The creep is very helpful for microing. I'm gonna actually build some more. Control-click on the select all army hotkey. I really should have at least like a spore at each base. Why are you doing this? So now I'm waiting to build up to mutas. I think like, well, I have enough gas for 8 mutas. I just don't have the minerals. 5 mutas, 1 shot a probe, which is a key point. No, my precious queens! Live, damn you! Alright, but we can come in behind. I'm getting 10 mutas. Does he have a storm? We're playing ring around the slow zones. Now I'm over here. Rip Queen. But that means one less Archon. There's even more charge lots. That is a lot of charge lots, my friends. And then we send the mutas into his mineral line. They're not even going to get involved in this. He did a good job of building a lot of charge lots. I will give him that. Charge lots don't shoot up, though. Not this patch. What if they could just... If they ran far enough, they could just go up a ramp into the sky? And also, why does Protoss have so many melee units? Who knows? It's gonna be a base trade scenario, but I'm gonna get in position. Right outside the slow zone. So, charge lots in the slow zone look hilarious. Does he have a storm? Microing back, and usually, like, he's got a house of cards build that. Say, well, if it works, it works. But if I get hit from the wrong angle with the wrong units, there's no way. All right, Boa, who is it? Who is the who's lane? I want name. Have we played? We played every matchup so far. I think we'll do one more game. It was Avex looking at pictures.
Oh, you are now in
We'll
my
blame
service.
Avex. What kind of pictures, Avex? I was fixing audio. Thank you, Great Shaman and McGreenberg. For new players, do you think it would be better to just jump straight in the ladder instead of playing against AI? To quote myself in my new player's guide to StarCraft 2, maybe 5 or 10 games against the AI, and then maybe 1 or 2 every day. And maybe to determine what race you're most interested in playing, and then jumping into the ladder. But I say play each race up till level 10. That's a few hours, depending on what kind of games you're playing. So I saw his probe, by the way. We're going to be very sneaky. Where are we? Where did the probe go? Why isn't the probe? Jimmy! Give me a name! At the very end, right when I'm about to quit, it's going to come up. But it's already too late. But I think playing against the AI is fine. But there are a few things, once again, to quote myself in my short new player's guide to StarCraft. Even though it feels like you're playing players who are way better than you, or maybe they have a fancy ranked border like they're Platinum or Diamond, that only indicates their best race, and each race has a separate MMR. And if you play 15 games and you're like, well, I only play Diamond players, and what you really mean is I play Diamond players like 3 out of 5 games. Are you really gonna cannon rush me? Yes. Okay. 6 drones, 8 drones. All the drones. Alright. Kill the probe. Kill the probe. That's a pylon there. You gotta be careful to notice what's what. Because pylons have more HP. And now I can make rings. Oh, wait, what? No. Stop it. Stop it, cannons. Okay, they go like 2. That's fine. Pylons have more HP than cannons. They have 200, 200. Cannons have 150, 150. It's much easier to kill a cannon. And pylons build faster, too. So they get that HP quicker. That's why, unless there's a literal, like you killed the probe and there's only 1 pylon, it's not better to go for the pylons. I see a whole lot of newer players be like, well, the pylon powers everything. That's what Artosis says. No. The key to a cannon rush is shutting it down before it starts, ideally. And if it does start, a lot of players at the lower level will be like, yes, I'm cannon rushing, it's working, and get like 7 cannons and 3 pylons, and they've spent 3 times the cost of your hatchery on cannons. So if they do that, well, guess what? They can't have much of an economy. Just one of the best options is a Nidus. If you actually get contained, then a quick Nidus will solve some of your problems. And if you're just able to take another base, then eventually you'll be able to kill it. But a lot of people, I see a lot of your replays about, I got cannon rushed, I don't know how to deal with it. Sometimes you just ignoring it is the best strategy. It's like the people who make YouTube comments on my guide videos who are like, well, I just started playing StarCraft 2 today, and the guide that in the description said this is a build for players who played for a few days or like 50 to 100 games once they have a basic handle on it to look at. But I just started playing today, and I lost 1 game with this guide, and it doesn't work, alright? This is a bad guide. And they really just skip through to the end anyways. What I'm trying to say is cannon rushes are much like that commenter. They should be ignored. In some cases. Depending on how annoying they are. Really, just like that commenter. A handful of those. It really does depend on how annoying and useful it is. Because sometimes, it's just not. The worst part about the internet is you get 100 like, oh, I like this, or dumb memes, or first, or whatever, and then there's that one comment, and I'm like, well, that guy is dumb. And, but you don't, wait, I build 2 Roach Warrens? This is from my Tragmar Burrow Roach Speed build, which is a thing, but, it's kind of like if, there are 100 people in a room for, like, I don't know, a lecture. There's 100 people just sitting, taking notes on a lecture. And then there's one guy who takes his shirt off and takes a bunch of paint out of his backpack and starts painting himself and yelling. And that's Twitch chat. He's got a bunch of oracles, which is not... That's... Hey! I thought I transferred you, Drones. What are you doing? Just whatever I can do to buy time here. So, what I do know... Well, he may have hidden a base, but I don't think he had the money for it. Now, YouTube comments are different. YouTube comments are not like Twitch chat. YouTube comments are like a bathroom stall, where someone writes, "Fuck you," and then someone else comes by a little bit later, crosses out, said, "No, fuck you, big boy," and then another guy comes by like, "Mark Hart's Karen." Oh, of course he has another base. All right, and that's what YouTube comments are like. Very different. You sneaky devil. I mean, I should really trust my instincts, eh? What if I just... Oh, he has a bunch of cannons there. Okay, I'm gonna use an advanced strat. Once again, remember, just ignore it. This is actually kind of scary. This is actually getting a little out of hand, I will say. I lost the base, so we should try not to do that. I was too busy ranting about things.
We require more.
Queens would be the counter, by the way. But looks like he's going for a ground army now. The oracles will eventually come to be angry at me. Maybe not for a little bit, but we'll see if we can get one with it. I got one. So oracle energy is a finite resource. That's also important to consider, because oracles cannot just keep using their energy over and over. They do a lot of damage very quickly, and actually the counter to oracles is queens and creep spread. But I've been ranting. Do we have the +1? We do.
A new queen awaits your command.
So as long as I have more bases, this is okay. If he has a hidden base anywhere, then we have potentially problems.
That can only be morphed on fleet.
I have 54 drones. Oh yeah, he could have his natural. I am not a smart man. His natural is a pretty obvious base. That's why it's called a natural. I blew at least one person's mind there, and that's about it.
A new queen awaits your command.
There's a lot of charge lots in the mix there. We need Zerglings as well. Looks like I'm dead. And that's how to die. Ranting all day. Maybe he wasn't lying with the GM thing. So don't ignore the fact he could have random bases all over the map and probably knows everything you're doing. I recommend that. Sometimes you gotta respond to those comments. But that was me being lazy and not looking for it. Ah, yes. Smurf account. Pretty good for someone with no games. He probably played against the AI a lot, though. That's probably what did it. I apologize. So, we'll take questions for a bit. Okay, I'll give you the actual counter. If you scout it, well, you want to shut down the base. But Hydras, just like against battlecruisers, they don't counter battlecruisers. they don't counter oracles either. Enough of them can counter oracles, but oracles and battlecruisers, pretty much ground units, are not ideal. Corruptors are your ideal, and I know those are the big things. Same thing with most Sky Toss, unless it's Void Race. Is Roach Corruptor is usually Roach Corruptor is usually a better strat. Because the roaches force them to have some respect for your ground army. You don't build a bunch of roaches if all they have is battlecruisers, but or all they have is oracles. But enough so that they have to worry about you running over their base. And then the corruptors are to defend and knock out the oracles, or the battlecruisers, or what have you. Not the mutas. If he gets mutas and you aren't able to... in ZVZ, mutas can sometimes show up. You kind of have to... You can more consistently scout a Zerg with like overseers and all that. But if mutas show up out of nowhere in a game where you don't, and when you think you're even, or even if you think you're ahead, that's kind of your fault. Against Terran and Protoss, it's much more likely to be surprised or taken a little off guard by air units. But in general, queens to defend early on, and then into corruptors, and then maybe roaches on the ground is the way to go. And those are the most difficult strategies to deal with if you're not really focusing on what they're doing. Anything that has like a very strong air unit that can just kind of blindside you. So don't keep making Hydras and being like, well, how is Zerg supposed to deal with this? And then in the late game, Vipers. But with that, we'll take the Zerg questions. The last bit of lag was me trying to see if I could lag the game. Thank you for using that time for a test. As a new player, I get cheesed early a lot when I focus on macro. Well, we're going to take this from the Zerg perspective. More queens in general. And playing macro doesn't mean I'm going to build a bunch of bases. I'm going to build a bunch of bases, and then if he attacks me, I just die. That's not what that means. It means your focus is on having enough defenses that even if they commit to an attack, you'll be alright. So your general timings are in Zerg versus Terran and Zerg versus Protoss. You want to have an Overlord get into their base, usually your second, but sometimes your first, between 3 and 4 minutes, because that'll at least give you the info of whether they have, what kind of tech they have. That's usually when they're deciding on it. Now, if they're on one base, you kind of got to figure out if there's another base over there, or if they have a hidden base, or if they're building up a lot of units. In that case, you're probably going to have to cut drones. But the general timings when Protoss and Terran, I'll talk about ZVZ in a sec, can attack, assuming they go 2 bases, which usually at the higher levels they at least pretend to. Are early on, the harass is usually like 3 to 4 minutes. Well, around 4 minutes to 4.5 minutes is when that can become a threat. And then a follow-up push is usually between 6 and 7. It does depend on if they expanded early. There are chances they do like a big charge lot all in. That's not a catch-all. But just, I'd say every minute, this goes for all races, every minute try to send something out. Whether it's a Zergling, or a hallucinating Phoenix, or a scan, or a Marine, or something like that. Every minute, fuck it, put it on the minute marker. Try to send something out, so you can get an idea, at least get a glimpse of what they're doing. Now, this is like, if you're gold or below, don't worry about it, okay? Just acknowledge that there's more to the minimap than the center lane, and try to get 50 workers, especially Zergs, but 50 workers by 8 minutes in general. But I mean, we're doing a Zerg thing. 50 drones by 8 minutes. If you can't pull that off, assuming they didn't kill all your workers with, I don't know, a battle cruiser or something. If you're not getting 50 workers by 8 minutes, that's your first problem. That's the first one. If you're trying to play macro, if you're going to be a bit of a macro player yourself. So. Do you miss when Wings of Liberty just released? StarCraft 2 is at its prime. Believe it or not, most games are at their prime when they're released. But StarCraft 2 now has more players than since that point of Wings of Liberty. Free-to-play is a pretty big deal, and the game is less of a mess and more interesting than Wings of Liberty. So, overall, StarCraft 2 is at its best point with, well, there's a lot of arcade action going on. And standard direct strike isn't incredible. It's not, I'd rank it as worse than playing against the AI. For actually improving, but it's not nothing. So if you do want to play direct strike, you'll at least get some idea of how units interact. And 2v2s and 3v3s aren't terrible either. There's no substitute for actually just playing ladder, but there are a lot of options. Hey, you! Alright, so hopefully you enjoyed whatever semi-guide thing this was. Hopefully it helped a little bit. Hopefully it'll help you pretend to be good to your friends. So that way you can be like, haha, I got platinum and you never got past silver. And they're like, what are you... I haven't played for 5 years. We're playing Fortnite. Are you not... It's like, have you seen this guy called WinterStarcraft? Looks like a douchebag. You're right. And then subscribe. So, I assume that's how that conversation goes. But, thank you. And hopefully, well, thumbs up. There you go. Oh yeah, Jimmy says we haven't run an ad in a bit. So if you guys can pause ad block, we'll be right back. Thank you guys for watching. And I'll be back. Gotta make that dirty esports money somehow. Welcome back, everyone. I'm here to tell you about all the exciting things happening in StarCraft 2. First off, of course, we have Twitch Prime. You might be like, Winter, I don't know how that has to do with StarCraft 2. Well, let me educate you. As of June of 2019, you can get the Vorazun Announcer, Vorazun Bundle. That other Dark Templar that you forgot about, yeah, she's in the game now in all sorts of ways. Besides just a co-op commander. With Twitch Prime, you can claim your Vorazun... What are we calling it? Nerazim bundle. That's a little lazy. Anyways. And get the co-op commander and announcer and all that. So get her done. And also you can subscribe for free with Twitch Prime to a streamer of your choice every month. Test it out up there or down here or wherever. Also, let's talk about all the exciting things on YouTube. Do you like Battle Royale? No? Too bad. Check out StarCraft 2 Grandmaster Battle Royale every Friday on YouTube, except for the times when it's not. There's a whole Patreon thing that I will be promoting as well, so that way we can make sure to run it most weeks. In fact, we might be expanding into the beautiful country of Europe very soon, so keep a lookout for that. Every Friday on YouTube, or live if you have any way to figure out what time I actually stream. It's not like there's a schedule with exact time zones and time zones conversions saying when I stream, what days, at what times, and what will be happening. That doesn't exist, so every time you guys come in and ask, I'm happy to answer every single time. Thank you, subscribe today!